So growth hormone, prolactin and HPL. HPL is a human placental lactogen. So these three belong to one family, and TSH, FSH and LH and HCG, that is human chorionic gonadotropin. So these three belong to another family. So the alpha unit of mainly FSH, TSH and LH are similar, but their beta units are different. So if due to any trauma, if the pituitary stalk is disconnected, then the hypothalamus factors are not reaching. Of course, the pituitary stalk is disconnected from the hypothalamus to the pituitary, there will be no connection. So because of this, all the hormones concentration will drop except prolactin. Why only prolactin is paid? Because prolactin is usually inhibited by hypothalamus. So if here it is blocked, then there is no one to block the prolactin now, so only prolactin concentration in the blood increases if the pituitary stalk is broken. So prolactin receiving only the inhibitory factor, so it can't be affected. So prolactin activity will increase if the stalk is disconnected. Next, let us see what is Sheehan syndrome. So Sheehan syndrome is mainly seen in a pregnant female where the anterior pituitary enlarge and the blood flow increases. Posterior delivery hemorrhage, that is after the delivery, if there is hemorrhage, then many vessels may go to spasticity and also thrombosis because there is low blood supply. Then the blood supply to the anterior pituitary is cut off and anterior pituitary may undergo infarction, which results into Sheehan syndrome due to deficiency of T3. So it will lead to deficiency of T3, T4, FSH, LH and corticoids, because anterior pituitary is the one which is going to produce all these different kinds of hormones. So if the pituitary stalk of course if it's getting less blood supply, then all these hormones are not present in the female, so we need to give them extra like extra from outside. So we'll give T3, T4 corticoids for the treatment. Next, we'll start our growth hormone. So growth hormone belong with the family of prolactin, human placental lactogen. So as I've already seen there, growth hormone with prolactin and human placental lactogen. So they are mainly acidophilic cells, means they are red color cells, acidophilic cells under the control of hypothalamic cells. So growth hormone is synthesized and produced by anterior pituitary under the strong influence of hypothalamic factors. In the hypothalamus, ventromedial nucleus release the growth hormone and act on the cells of the anterior pituitary. So in the daytime, somatostatin is acted, which inhibit the growth, but at night time somatotropin is more, so it's especially in non-REM sleep, deep sleep, which stimulate the growth hormone. So when a person is in deep sleep, they have a lot of growth hormone, but whenever in a daytime there is somatostatin, which inhibit the formation of growth hormone. So the level of growth hormone changes by different factors. Growth hormone in circulation mainly work on tissues in two ways, and this growth hormone as 191 amino acid peptide hormone. One way can act directly on the tissues, and the another way it goes to the liver and act on them, produce somatomaidins. So the name maidens like a maiden for the growth hormone, because they are formed in the liver and they try to increase show the growth hormone effects on the target tissue. So growth hormone has one pass receptor, and somatomaidins can also act on one pass receptors which have extracellular and both intracellular domains. But growth hormone receptors undergo dimerization and bind with Janus kinases, that is JAK, and lead to phosphorylation of receptors, and JAK themselves inactivate transcription factors called STAT. So actually not inactivate, they'll activate STAT gets attached to JAK. So STAT is signal transduction and activation of transcription. So later STAT go to the nucleus and start the transcription. So because of transcription, the mRNA will be formed. mRNA, by the process of translation, it will lead to formation of proteins. So this pathway will lead to altered metabolism, because inside the cell now whole metabolism is altered. So even prolactin, human placental lactogen follow the same JAK-STAT pathway. Means now we can understand this is growth hormone, prolactin, human placental lactogen. These three family are acidophilic family. They have acidophilic cells. So mainly they follow the JAK-STAT pathway by means of one pass receptors. And somatomoitins plus plasma proteins are tightly bound. They remain in the circulation for longer time, so half-life is 20 hours. So actually somatomaidins, as we said, they are always associated with plasma proteins, similar to like thyroid hormone. So as they are associated with plasma proteins, they are having a lot of half-life, like about 20 hours. Growth hormone and plasma proteins loosely they remain in circulation for shorter time. So but growth hormone, if you take, it is not bound to plasma, it's free in Yeah, it's also bound to plasma proteins, but loosely bound, so they can easily get released from it and go to the target tissue. So their half-life is just 20 minutes. So you can see a huge variation of half-life in somatomedins and growth hormone. So whenever you want to find out the growth hormone values in our blood, then of course we will measure only somatomedins, because they are having more half-life, like 20 hours in the blood. But the growth hormone directly doesn't have more half-life. So to find out growth hormone, we'll check out always somatomedins, which are coming from the liver. So you can see here that to measure the growth hormone level, it's better to calculate the somatomedins level, because they can stay in circulation for longer time. Next, let us see the example of African pygmies. Whole tribe is dwarf, where the growth hormone is normal but the somatomedin level is low. Even though the growth hormone is normal but the somatomedin is low, so this kind of people are always dwarf. They are called as African pygmies. Growth hormone and somatomedins are both are low, then it is called pituitary dwarfism. So mainly pituitary dwarfism is where both the growth hormone and somatomedins both are low. And next you have the normal dwarf, where the somatomedin is low, and sporadic cases is called Levy-Loren dwarfism. So GH, growth hormone, have mainly catabolic and anabolic actions. Catabolic actions is like, they do lipolysis, that is they break down the fat. Anabolic actions are they increase the protein content in the body. So because of this, by using growth hormones, not by using, normally in the presence of growth hormone, lean body mass, will have the lean body mass, because all the fat will be cut off, and you can see that is called lean body mass increase. So as the age is increasing, the growth hormone is decreasing. So actually in puberty, there is maximum growth hormone. Adrenal cortex of female, male of zona reticularis, produce androgens in some amount, and even in female. And after 60, the growth hormone will drop. The growth hormone is available by genetic engineering on E. coli experiments artificially. Body becomes smarter, face thinner, artificially increase the lean body mass. So we can use growth hormone artificially if we want to increase all this, but there are side effects, like if you use growth hormone more, it will lead to diabetes, because of more of growth hormone, it makes most of the glucose unavailable to the tissue. So glucose remains in the blood. It will lead to hyperglycemic conditions, and also it may lead to fatty liver, because lot of mobilization of fat to the liver, it may lead to fatty liver. So you can see here, increase amino acid, increase transcription, increase translation, decrease catabolism. These are all the functions of a growth hormone. So actions on protein by growth hormone, what it does, mainly it increases the amino acid uptake, so that more protein can be coming into the cell. It will lead to lean body mass, and also it will lead to increase in transcription, so that more proteins can be formed. Decrease catabolism, there is decreased catabolism of mainly protein, so that more protein is present in the body. And also increase translation, of course, production of more protein. So this all lead to muscle and lean body. So when growth hormone is present, it gives signal to adipose cell to activate hormone sensitive lipase, which break down the fatty acids, glycerol, and levels of fatty acids increase in the circulation. So free fatty acids like acetyl CoA are used in the liver and produce ketones at last. So in liver, fatty acids accumulate and form fatty liver. If the growth hormone is so much high for long time, especially this condition is seen in acromegaly. So in acromegaly patients, they are having a lot of growth hormone. So because of this, they have higher chances of diabetes mellitus, and they'll also get the diabetes mellitus. At the same time, they'll also have the fatty liver. So growth hormone reduces the utilization of glucose by muscle, and adipocytes levels of glucose in plasma will increase, forming hyperglycemia, diabetogenic action, as we discussed. Increase glucose stimulate pancreas, produce insulin, but it can't make glucose enter the cells, because free fatty acids resist insulin. So you can see here, free fatty acids are resisting insulin, but lot of insulin is also produced here. So increase in growth hormone may lead to diabetes mellitus. Next, we'll see bone grows in two ways. How bone grows, we know we have epiphysis here, we have metaphysis here, diaphysis, and so growth hormone mainly act on metaphyseal plate, so it will lead to growth of the body, bones mainly. So chondrocytes convert into chondroblasts, next into collagen, osteocyte, bone is formed finally, and epiphysis and diaphysis fuse together. So this is all going before puberty. So you can see here, before puberty, the growth hormone is low, then the person may become dwarf, and because before puberty only this bone growth, everything will take place, right? So if there is no growth hormone, then the bone will not grow and the person will remain dwarf. But before puberty, if there is lot of growth hormone, so that this growth hormone, because of this growth, a lot of bone will grow, so that it will lead to gigantism. That is, person is lot of having more height than the normal person. So next, after epiphyseal closure, also growth hormone may increase. Sometimes completion in adults, also growth hormone thickening of normal height. Sorry, they'll have normal height, but they lead to thickening of bones, and this is called as male acromegaly. Next, let us see the somatostatin act on serpentine receptor. They decrease the cyclic AMP and decrease the release of growth hormone. So somatostatin, it's an inhibitory factor of growth hormone. So mainly they have 7 pass receptor. They decrease the cyclic AMP and also decrease the release of growth hormone. So somatomedins are insulin like growth factor 1, or somatomedin they're like IGF-1. So now let us see the regulation of growth hormone, how it's regulated. So mainly we have ventromedial nucleus in our hypothalamus, mainly samples the glucose level in the body. So if the glucose is low, then it causes hunger. Of course, whenever there is low glucose only, we'll feel hungry to eat more carbohydrate. And if the glucose is high, it will cause a stridus. So ventromedial nucleus is always stimulated. Growth hormone releasing factor is released to the portal system by serpentine receptor. They increase the cyclic AMP, synthesis and release of growth hormone. So somatostatin by the portal system serpentine receptor decrease cyclic AMP, inhibit the release of growth hormone. So you can see somatostatin and somatotropin are inversely proportional, right? And growth hormone in circulation act on the liver. They form somatomedins, act as a feedback of negative to somatotrophs, so that further release of growth hormone is prevented. So what they are saying, for example, if growth hormone is very much high in the circulation, then somatomedins act as a feedback of negative to somatotrophs. So somatomedins say that there is already a lot of growth hormone to the somatotrophs, that is the growth hormone which is coming, so that further release of growth hormone is prevented. So remember, whenever there is a lot of growth hormone in your blood, then the further release is prevented by somatomedins. And excessive somatomedins act on somatostatin to inhibit the further release of growth hormone. So the growth hormone itself can also stimulate the somatostatin when the growth hormone is very high. So remember, somatomedin can lead to inhibition of growth hormone via somatostatin, or else even growth hormone itself can also stop its overproduction. So growth hormone produced in pulsatile fashion per 2 hours, intensity increase in the night. So actually that is the reason why if you want to check out the growth hormone, you can't, because it is in a pulsatile fashion. You don't know at which time it is released, at which time it is blocked. So we should always check the somatomedins if you want to grow, measure the growth hormones. So and also in the night it's like more, especially at the starting of the sleep and also in the deep sleep, but in the morning it's low because of somatostatin. So because during sleep, decrease in somatostatin increase growth hormone. In stress, exercise, growth hormone will increase. Yeah, remember this one. Even in stress, when you are in stress, when you are doing heavy exercise, then growth hormone will increase. And whenever you are having low glucose in your body, low glucose, low fatty acids, it's a function of growth hormone, right? Arginine amino acid it's a strong stimulatory effect of growth hormone. So arginine can stimulate the growth hormone. And even during fasting or starvation also, of course, your growth hormone will increase. And alpha adrenergic agonist drugs also increase growth hormone. And whenever there is high glucose, high fatty acids, obesity, aging, more somatomedin in the blood also will drop the growth hormone. And somatostatin also drop the growth hormone, aging, obesity. And whenever there are like low fatty acids, low glucose, right? All this will block the growth hormone. So beta adrenergic agonists, they decrease the growth hormone naturally, and patients with burns, trauma, inject the growth hormone, help the patient to recover by anabolic actions. In emotional state also, glucose, all this response reach to the hypothalamus, and low glucose, low fatty acids increase more growth hormone. This is important. Whenever there is low glucose in your body, then growth hormone increases. Whenever there is low fatty acids, also increase more growth hormone. In pregnant female, there is low growth hormone because amino acids are used to baby, not to self of female. So in pregnant female, why growth hormone is less? Because not less. Growth hormone is more in pregnant female. No, growth hormone is less in pregnant female because if the growth hormone is more, then a lot of protein can be used only by female itself but not to the baby. So to prevent all this, growth hormone is low, so that normal amount of carbohydrates, proteins, everything will be reaching to the baby. and if the growth hormone is very high, then it will lead to gigantism from childhood, metaphyseal plate excessive, and acromegaly in adults, where is end of body increase after closure of plates, increase in soft tissue. Many develop diabetes mellitus, visual defects due to tumor or from compression in optic chiasma, and large tongue and large viscera. All this can be seen in acromegaly. And in acromegaly, they have gloves like hand, increase in size of hands, increase in size of legs, increase in shoe size, increase in head size, abnormal vertebral cord called kyphosis. So all this can be seen. Next, let us see panhypopituitarism in children. It's not formed or destroyed pituitary. Dwarfism, pituitary. Actually, these are all when the growth hormone is low. So when the growth hormone is low, it may lead to panhypopituitarism, dwarfism, panhypopituitarism in adult. It's maybe due to tumors like craniopharyngioma, Redke's pouch is underdeveloped, and also chromophobe tumors. So because of all these tumors in adults, growth hormone may be dropped in the blood. And because of Sheehan syndrome also, of course, because low blood supply, so there will be low growth hormone production. And even in dwarfism, that pituitary dwarfism, there is low growth hormone. Next, congenital or destroyed pituitary in childhood, so decreased growth hormone will lead to child dwarfism, and their FSHLS also decrease, so never pass through puberty. And they're also, of course, infertile because their anterior pituitary is only not well developed, so all their hormones are also affected. Dwarfism, pituitary, decreased growth hormone synthesis always, so decreased somatomaidens. And Lorraine is increase in growth hormone but decreased somatomaidens. Panhypopituitarism, normal height with normal growth hormone, but there may be because of some tumors, infarction by Sheehan syndrome. All this will lead to decrease in the growth hormone. Tumors produce visual problems. Infarction by Sheehan syndrome, anterior pituitary enlarged, produce shock and spasticity. And by replacement therapy, exogenously you can give glucocorticoids, estrogen, progesterone, because they are not having these hormones, right? So we need to give them exogenously, as they are not able to produce as our anterior pituitary is blocked. So growth hormone gene is planted in E. coli nowadays. Some bacteria are used in adults to reduce aging and feel energetic. So even adults are using this nowadays to feel energetic and have the lean body mass. So this is all about growth hormone and anterior pituitary. Next we'll talk about posterior pituitary.